Ever wondered why your furry friend can't seem to stop barking, often at the most inconvenient times? You're not alone. Many dog owners face the challenge of dealing with excessive barking. This isn't just a nuisance. It can be a sign of a deeper issue that needs to be addressed. Barking is a dog's way of communicating. It's their language. They bark to express a variety of feelings, from excitement and happiness to fear, anger, or boredom. However, when your dog's barking becomes incessant, it can disrupt your peace and even strain relationships with neighbors. Excessive barking isn't beneficial for your dog either. It could be a sign that they're stressed, anxious, or not getting enough physical or mental stimulation. It's a problem that you, as a responsible dog owner, need to address. To help you and your dog find peace, we'll outline a step-by-step guide on how to stop your dog from incessantly barking. Before we dive into the solution, it's crucial to understand why dogs bark in the first place. Imagine you're in a foreign country where you don't speak the language. You're trying to communicate, but no one seems to understand you, and you're getting frustrated. This is how your dog might feel when they bark and you don't understand what they're saying. Barking is a dog's way of communicating. They use it to express a variety of emotions and needs. For instance, they may bark when they're excited, when they want attention, or when they're trying to alert you to something. Another common reason for barking is anxiety or fear. Dogs are emotional creatures, and they can get overwhelmed by things that might not seem scary to us. For example, loud noises, unfamiliar people or animals, or changes in their environment can trigger anxiety and lead to barking. Boredom is another culprit. Dogs are intelligent and active animals. They need mental and physical stimulation to stay happy and healthy. If they're left alone for long periods or don't get enough exercise, they might start barking out of sheer boredom. Lastly, it's important to consider medical issues. If your dog's barking seems unusual or excessive, it could be a sign of pain or discomfort. In such cases, it's best to consult a vet to rule out any health problems. Understanding the root cause of your dog's barking is the first step towards addressing it. It's like being a detective. You need to observe your dog and their environment, pick up on clues, and try to figure out what's triggering their barking. Remember, every dog is unique, and what works for one might not work for another. That's why it's so important to understand your dog and their specific needs. Once we've identified the cause, we can start working on a solution. So how do we stop our dogs from barking? The first step in stopping your dog from barking is to remove the motivation. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly does that mean? Well, it's all about understanding what triggers your dog to bark and then finding ways to eliminate or at least reduce those triggers. For instance, if your dog is often barking at people or other animals passing by your window, you could close your curtains or blinds to block their view. This can help reduce their excitement or anxiety, which in turn can lessen their need to bark. On the other hand, if your dog barks because they're responding to certain noises, you might want to consider moving them to a quieter part of your house. This can help them feel more comfortable and less reactive to the sounds around them. Remember, the goal here is not to punish your dog for barking, but rather to help them feel more secure and less triggered. Removing the trigger is the first step, but what else can we do? Our next step is to teach our dogs the quiet command. This is a pivotal point in our training journey. It might seem challenging at first, but with patience and consistency, we can certainly master it together. Let's dive into the process of teaching the quiet command. It's a simple 3-step method that requires a bit of your time and a whole lot of love for your furry friend. Firstly, you'll need to wait for a moment when your dog starts barking. Yes, you heard it right. We need them to bark so we can teach them to stop. Once they start, let them bark a couple of times and then say quiet in a firm but gentle voice. Remember, it's essential to use a tone that conveys command, not anger. Secondly, when your dog stops barking, even for a brief moment, shower them with praise and give them a treat. This is the reward part of the process. It's crucial to reward them immediately after they stop barking, so they can associate the quiet behavior with the reward. Next, we gradually increase the quiet time. Once your dog starts to understand the quiet command, try to extend the quiet period before giving the reward. Start with 2 seconds of silence, then move to 5, 10, and so on. Remember, it's a gradual process. Don't rush it. If your dog starts barking before the quiet time is over, don't give them the treat. Wait until they're quiet again, then start over with a shorter quiet time. Consistency is key in this step.
Be patient and persistent. It might take a few days or a couple of weeks, but your dog will eventually understand the command and respond accordingly. The quiet command is not a magic wand that will silence your dog instantly. It's a training tool that, when used correctly and consistently, can help manage your dog's barking. Teaching the quiet command is a powerful tool, but it isn't the only tool in our arsenal. So let's move on to the next step, shall we?
Another effective method to stop your dog from barking is to use distraction techniques. These strategies are all about diverting your dog's attention away from whatever is causing it to bark. When executed correctly, they can be incredibly effective, turning a potentially stressful situation into an opportunity for fun and enrichment. Let's start with toys. Toys are a great distraction because they engage your dog's natural instincts to play and explore. When the mailman comes or a squirrel runs across the yard instead of barking, your dog might be more interested in that squeaky toy you've just tossed their way. The key is to choose toys that your dog finds genuinely exciting and stimulating. Now let's talk about treats. Treats can be a powerful tool in your distraction arsenal. The idea here is not to reward the barking, but to shift your dog's focus from the trigger to something more rewarding. The moment your dog starts barking, you can use a high-value treat to catch their attention. Once they've stopped barking and are focused on you, you can give them the treat. This technique can help your dog associate the cessation of barking with something positive. Another distraction technique can be introducing a new command or trick. This not only distracts your dog, but also stimulates their mind and reinforces positive behavior. For example, if your dog starts barking at a passerby, you could use this moment to practice the sit or lie down command. Remember, the goal of these techniques is not to punish your dog for barking, but to redirect their attention towards something more constructive. Consistency is key here. The more consistently you use these distraction methods, the more likely your dog is to start choosing the toy, treat, or new command over barking. By using these distraction techniques, you can help your dog focus on something other than the trigger that causes it to bark. So, we've covered a lot today on how to stop your dog from barking. Let's take a moment to recap the key points we've discussed, which will hopefully guide you in your journey to a quieter, more peaceful household. We began by understanding why dogs bark. Dogs bark for a variety of reasons. It could be due to boredom, anxiety, attention-seeking, or even because they're responding to other dogs. Understanding the root cause of your dog's barking is the first step to addressing the problem effectively. Next, we talked about removing the motivation. Once we've identified why our dogs bark, we can take steps to remove those triggers. This might mean closing the blinds to block out distractions, giving our dogs more physical exercise to overcome boredom, or spending quality time with them to alleviate their anxiety. We then moved on to teaching the quiet command. This is a crucial part of the process, as it gives you a way to communicate with your dog when they're barking excessively. Remember, it's not about silencing your dog completely, but teaching them to understand when their barking is inappropriate. Lastly, we discussed using distraction techniques. These can be extremely helpful, especially when your dog is barking at something they can't resist, like the mailman or a squirrel running across the yard. Distracting your dog with a toy or a treat can help redirect their attention and stop the barking. Now, it's important to remember that every dog is different. What works for one might not work for another. It's about trial and error and finding what works best for your dog. And remember, patience and consistency are key when working with your dog. Barking didn't become an issue overnight, and it won't be solved overnight either. So stay patient, stay consistent, and with these steps, you'll be on your way to enjoy a more peaceful household with your furry friend. Remember, patience and consistency are key when working with your dog. With these steps, you'll be on your way to enjoy a more peaceful household with your furry friend.